Don't tell me how much money you made. Tell me what that money represents. Tell me the quality of life you're taking home for your family because you work here. Tell me the quality of life that this money is affording you. Money is great. It's a scorekeeping method but money is only important to hookers and pawnbrokers. What can money do for your life? Motivation. When I'm doing a motivational pitch, I'll ask people, where are you going to be 5 years from now? Where are you going to be 5 years from now? Tell me about your plans. You ever meet somebody just signed up for Amway yesterday? Yeah. Tell me about your plans. I'm going to own the island right next to Tony Robbins' island. I got all these little circles, and that's your circle. Think about it. But family, occupation, recreation, motivation. When I visit a dealer, and dealers are my customers, the first thing I do when I visit a dealer is I look for the picture of their family. Is that a current picture? No, that's a couple years old. How old's the boy now? And I go right for the family conversation. What are you laughing about, Pete?
We tend to do that. You get a picture for a moment in time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Forget to update it.
Oh, I'm a professional. I'm a professional speaker, and people that are professionals in the speaking industry tend to use pictures of themselves 20 years ago on all their literature. So on my speaking website on the National Speakers Forum, I have one of my baby pictures. Funny stuff. Joe, have you joined the Speakers Association yet?
Yes, sir.
Why don't?
I'm gonna.
You need to. Your little buddy's ahead of you.
I know.
Yeah. Page 68 addresses the personal evidence manual. I got a little ahead of it. I've already done this complete chapter, but let's look at it a second. Jackie B. Cooper was one of my friends back in the day. Now, I don't pretend that Jackie and I palled around a lot and stayed at each other's houses. That wasn't the case. I knew him professionally, and we talked quite often. Now, Jackie B. Cooper was the greatest sales trainer in the car business ever lived. You can still find some of his videos on YouTube. Jackie used to say it's about feelings. And Jackie's the one that introduced me to the evidence manual concept. He was training salespeople, but I took it into management because I'm not a sales trainer, I'm a management trainer. I train management, that's what I do. I wrote an article in Auto Dealer Today magazine recently called 20 Things a General Manager Must Do Every Week. Did you ever get to read that one, Brad?
Mm-hmm. I read it.
It's the most read article in the history of the magazine. 20 things a general manager must do every week. And the reason I teach management is because I'm one of the few people that's training anybody that's qualified to teach those courses. There's a lot of unqualified people teaching shit they've never done. So the personal evidence manual. Jackie B. Cooper taught me about the personal evidence manual, what it means, the professional evidence manual, why you would buy GAP, why you would buy a service contract, why you would finance. I've got articles out of magazines why you would finance with a dealer as opposed to financing with a credit union. Anybody that knew anything about a credit union would not finance with a credit union. Anybody having any great problems with credit unions stealing your business? Anybody? Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ours, if we actually do a submit to one of those credit unions, they can call back afterwards. If they see it, if we went with someone else, but we did submit it to them, the credit union sometimes will call back that customer.
Well, you can't blame them for that, but you finance the credit union through your computer, correct?
Correct.
Have you ever had a consumer say, well, I'm just going to go down to credit union and sign it down there?
Sure.
Okay. There is a law called the holder in due course law. Write that word, holder in due course. Now, the holder in due course law gives the consumer a great deal of additional legal protection. The holder in due course law only applies when the seller of the merchandise also sold you the financing. You got that? It's on every contract you do. When you go back to your dealership, I want you to look on the back of your contract, and you will see a phrase, the biggest print on the contract. I mean, it's the largest pica print on the entire contract. It says, any holder of this consumer credit contract is subject to all claims and defenses that the debtor could assert against the seller of the goods or merchandise obtained pursuant hereto or the proceeds hereof. Now you understand it?
Yep.
Okay, let's talk about the holder in due course law. This is a contract. You are Ford Credit. You are the customer. I am the dealer. Okay, hang on to that for a second. Who's holding the contract? Customer. Okay, give it back to the dealer. Does the dealer want to hold this contract?
Nope. Let's get paid.
So we sell this contract to Ford Credit at a discounted rate less than face value. We sell the contract. Understand, when I sell it to Ford Credit, it is not an application for a loan, it is an already executed loan. They're buying a loan that is already valid in force. Now let me read that sentence to you again. Any holder of this consumer credit contract, who's holding it? Any holder of this consumer credit contract is subject to all claims and defenses that the debtor could assert against the seller of the goods or merchandise obtained pursuant hereto with the proceeds hereof. In other words, if I sell that contract to Wells Fargo, if I sell that contract to Ford Credit, if I sell that to General Motors Financial, if I sell that to anybody, whoever's holding the contract can also be sued by the consumer for any defects on the car. When Ford Credit accepted the contract, they accepted all legal liability of the customer as well as the dealer. Everybody got that? When they go to the credit union and sign at the credit union, that language is not on the contract. But the one you sign in the dealership, it is on the contract. So if they sign the credit union contract with you, they have the additional protection of the holder in due course law. Everybody got that? Yeah. Now don't be telling consumers they can sue the bank. No, just tell them they have additional protection. I want you to understand how that law worked. A lot of people are not aware of the holder in due course law. Were you aware of it before I told you about it? Go look on the back of your contract. It's on every one that if you buy jewelry through May Cohen's Corporation or jewelry through Macy's has a holder in due course law on their contract if they finance it. You follow what I'm saying? Because they sold you the merchandise and they financed it. So that gives you a little protection with the credit union going down to decide it themselves.
Talking about credit unions, do a lot of credit unions not also have additional disclaimers in there, whereas if you have other assets with them?
Okay, you want me to do credit unions? I wasn't going to do credit unions, but I got more dirt on credit unions. Okay, rule number one: do not start a battle with a credit union that you can't afford to lose. You don't want to go to war with a credit union that didn't start it. You know, live and let live. Credit unions have the most evil contracts in the world. And I spoke to a national credit union convention in Santa Barbara, California at the Fess Parker Resort. It's been 15 years ago. And they paid me $10,000 to do a 1.5 hour speech, plus first class travel from Atlanta to Santa Barbara, which is considerable. And they put me in the Fess Parker Resort for 2 nights. We had to be at least $500 a night. You know, so they probably had $20,000 invested in having me there. I get up in front of 500 or 600 people, and I said, folks, my name's Jim Ziegler, and I'm your sworn and avowed enemy. You know, I don't like you people. I mean, that's the way my speech started. You know, it went downhill from there. But, and I said, you people are disreputable. And I outlined everything I knew about them. And it was hilarious because they were cringing. I said, you take bribes from car dealers to switch their customers to another dealer that's paying you under the table. I see a couple people in this audience I paid myself. You know, I mean, it was nasty. It was nasty. But I was working with at the time we were working to get credit unions to allow us to do their contracts through our computers. And I was a pioneer in what you're enjoying right now. Because in the end I said we can work together or we can do this, you know. And credit unions. If you have a copy of a credit union's contract, there's going to be a lot of offensive language on it. One thing
What page is that, Jim?
79. If the credit union fails, are you personally responsible for the debts of the credit union? Now, this is kind of interesting because people don't realize you don't put a bank deposit in a credit union. You buy stock. How much does one share of credit union stock cost? Pete, come on, you know this. You know this. Come on, Pete, come on. We're on Jeopardy. I was your bet. Come on now. What does one share of credit union stock cost? Anybody? $1. You put $550 in the credit union, they tell you just bought 550 shares. They don't refer to it as dollars, they refer to it as shares. I refer to it as units of liability if they screw up, because you're a part owner. Your credit union legally is described as a member-owned, not-for-profit organization. The member-owned is the part you have to be careful of, because you also have the member liability if they screw up. Everybody got that? And most credit unions are financially secure, but some of them are really shaky. You know, you got to, if you have a credit union that belongs to a university or a church, they're probably on the verge of bankruptcy. Almost all credit unions with churches and universities are poorly run and overloaned to bad people. You know, I mean, jeopardy. The language on the back of the credit union's contract, if I have a credit union that's giving me a lot of trouble, I capture a copy of their contract. Most credit unions are first, second defaults. You are in default if this or any other loan you have with this credit union is late. That kind of language shows up in a lot of their contracts. If you are late with this or any other loan, you're in default. With GM Financial, you can go 90 days before they hook your car. Credit union can hook your car the second one. Not all of them, but most of them. That's why I have to copy the specific contract of the specific credit union that I'm talking about, right? Rights under jeopardy. We have the right to accelerate the loan. All credit unions have the right to accelerate the loan, meaning by written notice to you. It's that kind of like by written notice to you, we can change the rate or term of your loan. So you think you got a 60-month loan and the credit union deems that there's jeopardy, like when Eastern Airlines went out of business, Eastern Airlines credit union went nuts on those people knowing they're going to go bankrupt, started accelerating their loans. Say theoretically you're a flight attendant who thinks $300 a month's coming out of her paycheck and $900 came out because they took your 60-month loan and made it a 20-month loan. because they exercise their right to accelerate your loan. So credit unions have the right to accelerate your loan. It'll appear on their contract, if they're going to do that. Do they have a blanket power of attorney in the credit union contract? Does the credit union contract have a blanket power of attorney? We hereby appoint you. Now this is the language exactly as it's going to read. We hereby appoint you meaning the credit union, as our attorney in fact to affix our signature to any and all documents you deem necessary to protect the security or collateral interest this agreement creates. We hereby appoint you, the credit union, as our attorney in fact. Now, if you finance with GM Financial, Mr. Customer, the car is the only collateral for the loan. If you finance with your local bank, say you finance with Wells Fargo, and you've got a savings account and a retirement account, and you've got a CD with Wells Fargo. If you're in default on your Wells Fargo car loan, they can seize your bank account, they can seize your CD, and they can freeze your retirement account, your IRA. They can't seize it, but they can freeze it. They can seize your retirement account, they freeze your retirement account, seize your CD, so the bank has anything you've got in that bank as additional collateral. Anything you have in that bank is additional collateral to the car loan. But the credit unions have chattel mortgage. Chattel is a Greek word meaning property. Anything you own is collateral for the credit union's loan. I mean, if you got money in a downtown bank account, that is also collateral, even if they haven't got their hands on it. How can they go get that money? They have a power of attorney built in their contract that lets them go get that money. Now, how often they exercise these things, I do not know. But when I was at that California Credit Union conference a couple years ago, one of the ladies in the audience said to me, Mr. Ziegler, we don't exercise those things. I said, well, you let the customer scratch them out? They're in your contract. No. Well, if the customer can't scratch them out, how do we know you don't exercise them? You follow what I'm saying? Now, if you're going to use these tactics on a credit union, you really need to understand you're going to create a war. But if they've already created a war, these are my countermeasures. You follow what I'm saying? I'd rather be nice to them. So, page 79 and 80 are 50 reasons why you wouldn't finance with a credit union. Member-owned, not-for-profit. Member-owned is the part that scares you. You are a part owner of the credit union. You bought shares in it, and you're responsible for what they've done.